Hello, St. John's teachers. Getting ready to do this remote learning. Got a couple setups. We went to a little bit of training the last couple weeks. We come up with 3 different options for you. 4, 5, there's a lot of different options, but we'll start from the very basic and go all the way to the most advanced. What you'll see in front of us, you have a tripod with an iPhone on it. You have a tripod with an iPad on it, or you're going to have just a regular web camera that's going to be tethered to a computer. So this one is going to be tethered. It'll have a 20-foot cable on it, so you can move around the room, but you're still going to be tethered to the computer. Right? Those are kind of the 3 setups you're going to have. Let's start with the easiest. Right? The easiest, and it really just depends on your teaching technique. The whole goal is to find a configuration that's going to work the way you teach. I'm a big smartboard user, so I will have a configuration that focuses on the smartboard. But if you're someone that's teaching either on the whiteboard a lot or standing up in front of the classroom and doing a lot of lecturing and talking or interactive, your best choice is either your iPad or your iPhone. Right? Bring your iPad in nice and close here. All you're going to need is this, right? It's on wheels. I also have one that's on, right? This is just on a tripod, right? Just kind of carry it around and move it where you want, right? This one, right? Bring this one in, right? Let's see, is it going to focus on the words and stuff? Right? Just open up your Zoom app. I already have mine loaded up here, going to 8th grade, and I'm going to hit start. Of course, update's going to be needed. A little bit more about the setup here. Before we get into Zoom, make sure you're on Canton 2012, the 5 gigahertz. It'll do much better with your bandwidth and better zooming quality. Right? Let's go over to the Zoom app. The Zoom app. Here's my Zoom app. There it is. Hopefully it'll work. Open up Zoom. Already signed in. Right, I'm going to go to My Meetings, and we'll talk about setting up your meetings later so that you always have the same meeting and the same personal ID. That way it's not changing all the time. I set it up, all mine is SJS, and then for me, 8th grade homeroom. There'll be a 7th grade homeroom, there'll be a science homeroom, there'll be a 6th grade homeroom here on the middle school floor. So we'll start this up. All right, so right now you can see if I was teaching up here, right, I could move this around and I could spend my time talking. You can move it farther away, you know, if you want to see more of the classroom and yourself. It just depends on where you want to put it. Right? You set it up the way you want it. The other one, so that's just as you're teaching. If you want the kids to be involved, right? It's as simple as touching the screen here and switching the camera from the front to the back, and now you have a classroom. So you want to ask questions of the classroom, right? You could move this around to the students so they can hear it. You know, they could interact with it, right? And that's all you need. Some of you, that's all you will want, right? Simple audio. The audio is going to be the hardest part as soon as you start getting into 2 or more cameras, right? But as simple as that. You can move around the room. You put it where you want. Biggest thing for you is to understand, make sure that your remote people are able to see you. Sometimes you forget about this, right? In here also, if I had more people, hold on. All right, so I added a few more people in here, right? So as you can see, if I get really close here. So if you're doing, let me go back here, if I'm teaching myself, right, and I want the students to see me doing whatever, my manipulatives, holding my cup of coffee, showing the other students in the classroom what's going on, right? Again, I'd probably put this somewhere out here. You know, the other kids are at their desks or sitting in some type of circle. I'd have it out there, so, and I'll bring it in close so you can kind of see what's going on. So as I'm teaching, I'm showing manipulatives, you know, you got to spend some time adjusting it. You'll find what works for you, what doesn't. You can do that. At the same time, you're seeing the other students that are zooming in at the bottom. The speaker's pretty good on this. You could also bring in a Bluetooth speaker, right? You could do one of the Bose or one of those if you want something with a little more sound. We could look at getting you some. I think I have a couple. Just depends on what your configuration is and whether this is loud enough for you. Right? So that's the simplest setup. That's the simplest setup. It's pretty convenient. You can move it around. It doesn't block too many views. You can see the students down here at the bottom, and they'll come up along the side. And like I said, you could switch it around. If they want to see the classroom view, you can do a classroom view. You can see I have Clorox over here, and I got CC's cup, right? So they're sitting, right? As you can see, one's sitting right here, right? And the other one is back here, sitting on the Clorox, right? That's the simplest, just one iPad. You can do the same thing with the iPhone, right? You can do the same thing with the iPhone. Say I want to teach with just the iPhone. Say I want to go outside. I want to go outside and teach, and really don't want to bring this big thing with you, right? You can bring, what I like about this one, let's see if this zooms out enough, right? What I like about this one is you can put it just about anywhere, right? I'll bring up its picture right here, right? Just to show you what the students would see. Right? So if I have it on this tripod, I can place it anywhere in the room, right? It does a pretty good job of picking up sound, right? That's the biggest piece of this is the audio, is making sure they can hear you on the other side. Of course, the farther you put it away, the softer you speak, the worse the audio is going to be. But as you can see here, right, that's the picture from the phone right here, and you'll see as I walk around, you know, this is what the kids will see. Like if you want to ask a question, right, you can move to that person, right? If you want to go outside with it, just grab the tripod. You could also do this with the iPhone or the iPad, right? Whichever is easy. If you don't want to take the big rolling one out with you, we'll have tripods like this, right? You can put your phone up here. We have other connections where you can put your iPad up here, right? And you can teach just from your iPhone, right? Not have this either, right? You can just do this configuration, right? Hard part with this is it's great for just getting the information to them. It's harder to see the students. It's your remote students when you do this. So it might be good for outside. I like it as a secondary camera. The only problem is for me, it's using my phone, right? The school's not buying you a phone. We have plenty of iPads. But just different choices and different options for you, right? All right, the other configuration, so you got the iPad, just the iPad, right? On either the wheeled option tripod or a fixed one, right? The difference is this one's a little heavier. You just can't throw it up on a desk somewhere. I'll show you here, right? It's a pretty good view, right? Say in the morning you wanted to do, right? Say in the morning you want to do, you just want the whole class so that whoever's remote can actually see the class come in and fill in. Set it up so it does that. Just trying to give you different ideas, right? I can set this up here like this, right, on the desk, raise and lower it, right? And you can see the whole classroom fill in, right? It's another option you could do with it, say for homeroom or something, right? Kids can go up and talk to it if they want. Hard part, as you know, is touching it, let's say, a couple different options there, right? So again, iPad, right? Just using just the iPad or just using the iPhone in either one of these configurations, either on a rolling dolly or on a fixed tripod like that. Now we're going to move to more of the middle school model. I'll show you what the middle school model will look like. All right, here in the middle school model, right? Smartboard, monitor, and then your tripod with the webcam on it. Right? That's tethered right to the computer. So most of the rooms will have that configuration. Right? So let's zoom in. Right? So I got my camera right here. I can move that anywhere I want. There's 20 feet on this. I mean, I can move it over here, depending on how I want it to be seen. Right? I could do the same thing I did before. I could put this up on a desk. Right? I'll leave it right here. I'll put this here so you can kind of see me moving it around. That's the screen the kids are going to see at home. Right? I could take this and move it around. I can put it up here. I could change the size, where it's looking. Right? You could walk around the room and talk to the students if you needed to do that. Right? In the morning, right? You could have it set up in the back like we did with the iPhone. Right? And they could see everybody coming in. Let me walk back there and show you the same as we did before. Right? Same kind of thing we did before. Right? Maybe you want to have it back there for larger discussions where they can hear you, because the microphone's actually on that camera back there. Right? So we put that one back in the middle of the room also. Right? So you can see that one's right in front of the, there it is. Right? So it's really your choice of where you want to set this up and how you do it. Right? Most of the time I'll just show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be lecturing mostly on the board. So I will probably have the camera up here looking at the board. Just readjust it, get the height right. It takes a little bit getting used to it, making sure you get the white balance correct. White balance is when the screen just becomes all white. Right? You could have that up there so as you're lecturing or you're doing something, right? Or you're drawing on the board, they could see that. You could share the screen, right? Come over here and share the screen with them. And just like you did at home, you know, find the screen you want to share with them. And now you're up here sharing this screen right here. Again, it takes a little bit of management of what you're doing with the remote side, right? The remote side. So now you're sharing this one, right? You can tell because it says you're sharing your screen up here. So say you had a video you wanted to show. A lot of times I'll have the textbook up, right? This camera isn't the best for showing this screen very well. Just because of the white balance, it kind of blinds it a little bit, so you really can't see this red if I use the red. So they'll see this though, they'll see all your drawings. So I shared it now, they will clearly see all the drawings that I'm doing on it. Right? At the same time, right, you're going to have the monitor tilted towards you, so as you're teaching, right, you can actually see the students. Right now I only have 3 students set up, but the more students you have, the bigger it'll get. You can make this bigger if you wanted to, I believe. In this case, zoom out a little bit, I'd have the students on one side, the chat room on the other, right? what I'm sharing will be up here on this board, right? And the camera, if they still wanted to, as you can see, if you zoom in here, they're still going to see it, but they're going to see you down in a very small display now, right? They're going to have the main, right, since I shared this screen, they're going to have this on the larger part of their screen, and all the people will become nice and small. So you'll still be able to see me actually moving around the room, which is nice, right? That's kind of the middle school model. Like I said, those are the basic models. You can get crazier with this, right? Adding another camera, adding another iPad. I could bring the iPad in here, so I have two cameras. But that means I have two things to manage now. I have to manage one camera, this one here, right? I'd have to manage this camera, right? And like I said, the audio is the hardest part. I'd have to manage that camera, and if I moved it all the way over here, I'd have to manage the iPad at the same time, right? The biggest thing is audio, and I'll show you what happens when you have too many devices going on at the same time, right? If I change, turn that off, right? What's nice about the middle school model here is the voices of the students, if they unmute themselves, will come up through these speakers. So you'll hear them pretty loud and clearly. As long as your speakers are up, right, you'll be able to hear them talk right into the classroom. Versus the iPad, the speaker's not the best on the iPad. So that's where you talk about a Bluetooth speaker. We've got a bunch of the Bose around, and I think we've got a couple other ones around, right? The other option, so say you're not a big, right? Say you don't use the whiteboard a lot for teaching, right? You can still use the whiteboard. You can bring the whiteboard up and bring your students up there instead. You can bring your students up here and the chat, or you can get your students to help you keep track of it, right? Right? You could be talking along and someone's got a chat, right? You could have one of your students that's in classroom help you. Oh, so-and-so has a chat or has a question, right? If you want to move over to one of the different, you want to bring somebody up who wants to talk, right? You can bring them up to the main screen so they can see it, right? So quite a few different configurations. You just have to play with it a little bit. Again, the hard part is I'd keep it down to one camera, whatever that choice is. If you want to get more advanced in using boom mics, and this can get really big, 2 or 3 cameras, but then you got to remember you got to manage those cameras at the same time, and manage what the students listening to on the other side. Right? A couple times I did in our class, I forgot about the students at home, and I had the wrong camera on and the wrong microphone going, so they didn't really hear any of the lecture, and of course nobody said anything until the very end. So that's a problem too. But let's recap. Right? Just a stand with an iPad on it, going right to Zoom, right? Works good. Only thing here, maybe a Bluetooth speaker. Same with the iPhone, a Bluetooth speaker so that it's a little louder. You can hear the students ask questions. There's some limitations here. You don't get to see, here I can only see 3 students at a time. As there's more, it's just going to have a little arrow, so you kind of got to go over to see it. So you don't get to see the students all at the same time. Same with the iPhone, it gets even smaller. Even gets smaller here. Right? It's great for a camera and microphone, but it's tough to host from that. Okay? I think this is the best model, this middle school model, where you have your computer here zooming, you have this on, you either bring up the window with all the kids on it in the chat room, right? Kind of like this. One microphone camera system. You could either do the webcam here, or you could leave the webcam out and do it from the iPad. There's a lot of different options. The easiest is the way we have it set up here. Webcam tripod. You can move it around on a 20-foot cable. That'll go anywhere in the room that you need. You can go high, you can go low, you can readjust it. It records right to your desktop here if you need to. I think later on we're going to get it so it goes to the cloud. You can share your screen pretty well. You can see things pretty well, right? So I think this is the best model for most of the classrooms. But again, in the smaller classrooms, you may just want an iPad on a cart. You might want it just on a tripod. Again, what I want to hear from you this week is, what do you want? Right? What do you think is going to work for yourself? Think about your teaching style. Again, this should meet your teaching style. You shouldn't have to adjust to the technology. Right? So I'm trying to find technology that's going to meet your teaching style and your talent. And that's what I'd like to hear this week, so we can get you the equipment that you have. We have a lot of things on hand right now, but if you have some special stuff that you want to do, right, you're a little more tech savvy and you want to do a few other things, I think we have just about everything that can meet your needs.